Hey everybody, this is Nervix and I'm here to rank Connor Super Goofy's album Void, also known as Connor, or Connor B formerly. And this is his comeback album Void. Before he quit music temporarily about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer actually, he told me that he wanted to have a trilogy of albums and the last one would be Void. And interestingly, when he came back, he made an album called Void, so he stuck to that plan after quitting music temporarily. But the very first track is Thrill of the Hill, and this was also the second of three singles that came out before the album. The first one being More Promises, and the third being Anderson's Sleepover. But Thrill of the Hill is first on the track list, and I'd say it's a pretty good song to be honest. I think I'd have to agree with Connor when he said that this would have been a better lead single on Void than More Promises when he made his video ranking all of his lead singles on all of his albums because it's not a problem with the energy. Both songs are pretty energetic, but Thrill of the Hill, I think, makes more sense to be the lead single in the context of Void being a comeback album, where Connor's rapping about being back and Big Soap, the Big Soap moments that happened when he did quit. Yeah, it's an energetic song. It's catchy. The lyrics are decent. There's not really anything particularly bad about this song. I'd say it's a decent 7 out of 10. And it's currently on my list as well. It peaked at number 13, and it's still pretty high. But yeah, Thrill of the Hill would have been a better lead single than More Promises, and it's just a good song. And as for More Promises, despite this being a worse lead single than Thrill of the Hill would have been, I still don't think it's a bad song by any means. I'd say it probably has the most energetic beat on the album, and that's a trend that you're going to see with these first three songs, and that the beats are pretty energetic. The album takes a turn later, but this is before that turn. The lyrics are fine, I guess. There's really nothing great to say about the song. It's just a little above average, I would say. I like the beat. I like that instrument that consistently plays in the background. I don't think it's a pad, but some sort of piano. I don't know what instrument it is, but it sounds pretty good in the background. So it's got a decent beat, fine lyrics. I'd give it a 6 out of 10 because even though it's not a bad song at all, it's not a great song either. And I don't think I would seek it out like I would Thrill of the Hill. And then we got the third single off of this album, which is Anderson's Sleepover. It's interesting how the first three songs ended up being the singles that released before the full album. But Anderson's Sleepover, I would say, is the best of the three. Um, if I had to think of a beat that Connor would make, this would probably represent what I would think about. It's just a very typical Connor beat, I would say. Um, I like how he talks about this kid named Anderson. I think the storytelling is decent. The beat is pretty good. I would say that Anderson's Sleepover is either a high 7 or a low 8 out of 10. I'd probably give it a high 7. I don't think it's good enough to be an 8 out of 10, but Anderson's Sleepover is still a pretty solid song. It's got good storytelling. It's got a pretty good beat. And yeah. And then we got Emperors, which is definitely where the album starts to take a bit of a turn. And even later than this, it starts to take a melancholy turn, but I wouldn't call Emperors itself melancholy. It's more of a transitional song than anything. I guess the album starts to pull away from the energetic, upbeat beats and delivers whatever this is, which is this album, or not this album, this song has a lot of beat changes and it kind of caught me off guard the first time I heard it. But I just heard it maybe 10 minutes ago now, and it grew on me a little bit. One, two, three, four, we are the emperors. Much like More Promises, I don't think I would seek it out. I think it's a 6 out of 10, probably. Again, not a bad song. It's just sort of inconsistent with all the beat changes. It sort of reminds me of the beginning of my song, Call That Cap, but instead it's in the latter half of this song. And I like the line of scrimmage bar, actually. where he says he can't move further back than the line of scrimmage. I like that rhyme. It's a pretty good rhyme with, I think the line before that went something like, I have no respect for anyone that tries to destroy my image. But Emperors, I'd say, is a low 6 out of 10. It might grow on me some more because it's already grown on me a little bit. And if I had to rank Emperors 20, 30 minutes ago before I listened to it 10 minutes ago, I'd probably give it a 5. So I'd still say it's the worst out of these four, but not by much. Then we got JoJo, which I think is the single after the album's release, or it became the single during the album's release, rather. Yeah, JoJo's not a bad song. Talks about some dog and how his brother and sister like to go see him. The guitar kind of got me off guard in the bridge the first time I heard it, but it honestly goes with the rest of the song pretty well. The chorus is kind of basic, where he just repeats JoJo. I'd say it's probably a high 5 to a low 6 out of 10. I'd say it's the worst that I've ranked so far, but not worst as in god awful, just worst as in the other songs are better, pretty much. It's the worst because the other songs are better, not because this song just sucks that bad. Hmm, it's just sort of a basic song. I give it a high 5 out of 10. And then we got 24-Hour Lights, which might be my favorite song on the album. I don't think it would be Connor's favorite song on this album, but the beat sort of encourages a vivid memory that I can't quite remember. I just think of Christmas lights when I hear the beat. And I think Connor's rapping performance is pretty good. I like what he's talking about, as in not really caring too much about what people think because this world's kind of trash anyway. You don't have time to care about what everybody thinks. And I also like his singing performance, to be honest, in the chorus. So I'd even say that this song is a like 8 out of 10. I really like this song. And even the outro I got used to after a couple listens. I imagine dancing to Christmas music outside once you've hung up the Christmas decorations, not caring about what people think. So I'd say 24-Hour Lights is a light 8 out of 10. I like the beat, it encourages a vivid memory. I like Connor's rapping and singing performance, and I like the outro. That's about it. It's an 8 out of 10. And it's pretty fitting for this time of year, too. But 24-Hour Lights is also where the album really starts to take a melancholy turn. And because of that, the last two songs are quite melancholy and sad. Drive Sad Forever was the song that I was the most excited for when I saw the title. And Connor asked me what song I was the most excited for based on the title. I said this one. And I wouldn't say that it lived up to the expectations, but it didn't disappoint either. The beat kind of reminds me of Entrancement, but just a little bit more melancholy. I feel like I've said that word too much, but you get what I'm saying. And then what Connor talks about is definitely the most sad and depressing on this album, besides maybe the last song. But it did grow on me a little bit. I would say Drive Sad Forever falls probably right there. Yeah. Matter of fact, I might take Emperors over More Promises. I might. Those two are about the same. A high 6 out of 10, where Drive Sad Forever is a mid 6 out of 10. Not a bad song, but I take these songs over it. And now that I think about it, I actually do like the sound of the beat in the bridge. I think that's pretty good. But then we got the last song, Meet Me Outside, which I honestly think is a pretty well crafted song. I really do. The beat kind of reminds me of Giving Up on Me by The Weeknd. And I like how within the last 30 seconds, 40 seconds of the song, it gets progressively more slurred. I think it's a pretty good end to an album that transitioned from upbeat, goofy, energetic beats to melancholy beats. So I think it's a good outro. I think it's a pretty well crafted song. And I would probably take it above Anderson's Sleepover at a high 7 out of 10, maybe even a low 8. Yeah, I guess I'll give Meet Me Outside a high 7, but it's almost a low 8. So interestingly, it's almost parallel. But as for the album itself, I'd say the album is a low 7 out of 10, or I guess as Fantano would say, a light 7 out of 10. I think after the first listen, I would have given it a strong 6, but the theme of the album, in that it's Connor's comeback album, does sort of make sense. And I feel like the theme of a lot of songs, especially 24 Hour Lights, is pretty good for Christmas time, and that it's Christmas Eve when I'm recording this review. So I think it's a decent album, and I think it's an okay comeback album. It's definitely not Connor's best effort by any stretch of the imagination, but still a solid album. It's a light 7 out of 10. I almost forgot to do the outro. That's about it. See ya.